I put down BS session 71. That was a mistake. This is BS session number 76. We are here with Jerrika from Jerrika in the Wild. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things. It might get wild, so brace yourself. Here we go.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
Whew. So we should mention that Kurt is not with us tonight because he's dying of something. I don't know exactly what it is.
Home renos.
No, actually, he's actually back on site, but he messaged a little earlier and said that he really wasn't feeling good and asked if we could handle it ourselves. So he won't be joining us. But we do have Derek from Banyak Precision back with us. So welcome back, Derek. It's good to do another episode with you. And we are with Jerrika from Jerrika in the Wild. You guys may know her from Instagram. You might know her from Wild TV. You might know her from, I don't know, are you on other platforms?
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm all over the place.
You might know her from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about all kinds of different things, including a new book that you've got coming out. But first, hey, why don't we pay some bills, Derek? What do you say?
I think that sounds good.
So we should probably mention, first of all, that the show is brought to you by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Commission a build today at emprifles.ca.
Also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com.
I love that Bolt Auction Cafe.
Bolt Action Cat.
We're also brought to you by Callsign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course now at callsign66.ca.
Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or Big Air rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. Look them up at odellengineeringltd.com.
That has never gotten old. Tell them Phil sent you. I wonder if anybody has ever actually done that before.
I definitely have.
Have you really?
So actually, I was at the Calgary show a couple of weeks ago, and Phil had sent a shotgun for a giveaway for the show, but it didn't arrive on time. So he sent me to Select Shooters, and he's like, tell them Phil sent you. And so I walk in, and I'm like, hey, it's Jerrika. Phil sent me. And they were like, ah. So
that's awesome. Love it.
That's great.
I love it. It makes me wonder if anybody has ever said, hey, Phil sent me. And they're like, Phil who?
Yeah.
Like, are you even in the gun industry? Like, we are also brought to you by Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes and binoculars at apexoptics.co.
We're also brought to you by Ribstone Gunsmithing. Craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm.
And the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta, home of the Sterling Arms R18, an indoor range, training courses, a new 6-lane axe throwing bay, and the One Shot, One Spill Cafe. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and on their website at theshootingedge.com.
We're also brought to you by March Scopes Canada. The Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all of your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Misa at marchscopes.ca.
And there we have it. And I should probably have asked you, we were chatting before we went live, and we didn't do an audio check at all. Are we all sounding relatively audio equal to each other, I hope? Our listeners, if one of us is louder than the other, make sure you let us know, because we completely shit the bed on that. So you are Jerrika.
I am Jerrika.
Tell us about Jerrika.
Well, so I am, again, I'm many things. Primarily, I'm the host of a TV show on Wild TV called Jerrika in the Wild. I like to take new and experienced and all hunters kind of on my learning journey. I'm also a nurse. I'm a mother of 6. I'm a biomed undergrad student. I'm a researcher. I'm a philanthropist. I'm an author. I'm everywhere. So you cannot avoid me. I just like to have my feet in everything. So that's kind of the in and out of it anyways.
So you've done a couple of things.
Just a few. Yeah.
So I
Actually,
have to admit, I don't have Wild TV. I've never had Wild TV. I have never seen the show.
Mhm.
I have seen numerous clips on social media. I have seen several trailers,
Yep.
but I have never actually seen the show myself.
Right.
Walk us through an episode of Jerrika in the Wild. And
So-
while you're doing it, tell people why they should watch it.
Yeah, so my idea with the show was that I wanted to create something that the entire family would enjoy. Again, I have 6 kids that range in ages from 6 to 18. So, I like showing things that are going to engage everybody, not just the hunter in the family. You can sit down, you can watch me prep for the hunt, go out and do the hunt. I really like, showing people how to prepare that game meat, how to, what to do once the game is on the ground, because there's so much focus in the industry on hunting, stalking, shooting. Okay, now the show's over. Well, what now? So I really like showing people that part of it. Like I've had episodes where I work on hides before. I have episodes where I'm bottling bear meat. I have episodes where I'm cooking duck tacos on the side of the river. It's just showing people what to do with their game after, showing a little bit of my family life. I also own, I own a medical clinic in Ontario. So like showing people a little bit of that as well. So literally just my life, that anybody can, participate in this lifestyle. It doesn't matter how busy you are, you can find time for these things. And even if it's just from butchering your own game and cooking, or, literally any little bit of it that you want to do, and that anybody can do it.
Duck tacos.
Yes. Duck tacos.
That sounds really interesting. Have you ever had duck tacos, Derek?
no, unfortunately not.
Really good. Duck poppers too. I really love cooking with wild game, and I really like doing fusion where I take traditional recipes like shepherd's pie, tacos, spaghetti, whatever, and show people how to use wild game to make those things. So again, 6 kids with hollow legs. One of my boys is 6'7". It's a lot of people to feed. So showing people how they can use that wild game for even the pickiest of people. And feed them, good quality food that they know where it comes from. And there's nothing better than field to table. So that's kind of the premise of my show, is bringing people right from the beginning, right through to the end.
And are all 6 of your kids at home still? You said you had an 18-year-old.
Yeah, so they are. My 18-year-old is actually, he just enlisted in the Army. So we're just waiting now for all of that to happen. But a little scary.
1 down, 5 to go.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But and I also have 2 stepkids in the house. So it's good. It's crazy. It's wild. But we love it. And, hunting is a big part of my life, big part of my partner's life. And we utilize wild game as often as we can. So I just really like showing people how that's possible.
So how often, like that, I'm just trying to do the math here. You got 6 plus 2 is 8, plus the 2 of you is 10.
Yeah.
Where, like, are you living in a abandoned castle, or
So I
how do
actually
you fit
live,
10 people?
well, we don't all live in the same place at the same time. So that's helpful.
Okay.
I am between provinces. I live in Ontario and I live in Alberta. So I'm back and forth. My younger kids are in Ontario primarily, and I'm there half of the time. And then my older kids are here. So I'm literally back and forth. And yeah, so 2 houses, 2 just chaotic everywhere. But it's good and it works for us. And again, I travel so much for the show because I like to show hunting in different provinces, different backgrounds, different people. So it really, the lifestyle just kind of works for us. And and my kids' father and I have a really, really good relationship. So, we just split the time with our kids and it just works for us. So
That's actually sounds very interesting.
Interesting
To
and
live in
chaotic.
Ontario, and I don't mean that in a facetious way.
Yeah. No, for sure. No,
but like,
it's good because I get the best of both worlds. Because I always tell people the big game in Alberta, there's nothing like it. But man, we've got wild turkeys in Ontario, and I would never give up wild turkey
I saw
hunting.
those. Yeah.
Oh man, it's my favorite. So, and then again,
Mhm.
the fishing, right? Because I live right by the Great Lakes in Ontario, so I'm doing a lot of walleye fishing and things out there too. So
Yeah.
I could never abandon one or the other. And my family is actually originally from New Brunswick, so I'm all over the damn place. Like I just love being everywhere and
Wow.
experiencing everything that our country has to offer when it comes to hunting and fishing. So it works.
Hmm.
It works.
Derek, have you ever had wild turkey?
I have not had wild turkey. No.
So
So good.
we were talking about Phil earlier.
Hmm.
I've spoken with Phil a couple of times about wild turkey, and I think one of these years when see you're super busy, but your super busy is like running back and forth to all these different places. My super busy for most of the time is I never leave my gym.
Right. Right.
It's
So
people coming to you to make you busy.
yeah, exactly. Well, and then with the odd thing, but I don't get to like go for recreation. I don't get to travel for recreation. So one of
Hmm.
these years, I'm going to take Phil up on hunting wild turkey because I've always wanted to A, hunt turkey, and B, I really want to taste turkey. She's not the first
Hmm.
person that's told me that that
Oh,
it's a
it's
really good
unreal.
meat. Yeah.
And I
What
think
about,
Phil and Ben actually just left to go hunt wild turkeys. They do like their big every year they go like Florida, Montana, like they
yeah,
just literally travel everywhere to hunt
Kentucky,
wild turkeys.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Georgia.
And
Is it
yeah, yeah,
Kentucky
yeah.
or
I
Georgia?
I don't even know. I don't know, somewhere south.
Yeah,
I
they're
think it's
pretty.
Kentucky.
It could be. I know they do Florida,
Yeah.
the Florida Osceola, but honestly, yeah, it's such a it's funny because it's like right up there with hunting elk because hunting turkeys is so intense and you wouldn't think that because you're like, oh, this big crazy looking bird or whatever, but man, it's just unreal. You're sitting there and you're sitting in the dark and waiting, and all of a sudden you just hear this thunder in the trees where these turkeys, because they roost in trees, they sleep in trees, and
Right.
you hear them starting to wake up, and you hear them kind of fly down, and then it's like oh my god, okay, where are they? And then when they start to really gobble, you feel it in your chest, like that, just that bass. Oh man, like you, I
Are
just,
they that bassy?
oh, it's unreal. You feel it because so personally, I'm the type of person that I don't sit in a blind for turkey usually. I did last year filming and it was really weird for me. I like sitting my ass on the ground with a tree and just gun up on my knee and calling that way and not moving. And
Yeah.
you feel it in the ground. You sure do. And they get their
Really?
freaking wings out and oh my
So
God,
it's
there's
like
nothing like
grouse
it.
drumming, but like times 10.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And you feel it literally in your chest, like it's just crazy. And there's nothing like it.
Well, now I
You
want to hunt them
just
even more.
when I tell you it's my favorite, it's my absolute favorite hunt. And the best part about it too, again, because I'm big on foraging. So, you don't get a turkey that day, no big deal. I'm out getting wild leeks. I'm out there picking mushrooms. I'm like doing
Yeah.
whatever, doing my thing. So it's never for nothing. You're always coming home with something.
Hmm.
And just spring in general, it's so cool. And you see so many deer, which, you're not actually hunting, but it's cool just to be able to
Still
see it
cool to
and
see them.
to
Yeah.
oh yeah, 100%, and getting to watch everything wake up, and as turkey season goes on, watching everything come to life, all the greenery as
Mm.
everything grows in. It's a whole experience for me, and I just love it.
See, this is stuff that really speaks to me, and this is as a city slicker who has always loved the outdoors, but has especially the later part. I'm not in the later part of my life yet. In the last part of the life that I have lived so far. I really haven't had the opportunities to do a lot of this stuff. Like I've only ever hunted deer. I've never even
Okay.
hunted pheasant or grouse, and I've never hunted elk. I've never hunted moose. I haven't hunted boar, and we have a boar problem in Saskatchewan. I still haven't hunted them. There's so many of these things that I haven't done, but hearing about it every time it speaks to me, and it makes me want to just quit my job and become a homeless person and live out in the bushes.
Honestly, if I
It's
could make it
tempting.
off grid with all these dang kids, I would. But I just, unfortunately, that just doesn't seem very plausible right now. But yeah, like I live for that stuff. And again, even like having moved to Alberta part time, like relearning the foraging out here, getting to experience new things out here, and it just totally different world. And I'm doing a lot more trapping out here than I was back home with like beavers and things like that too. So
Okay.
it's
Mhm.
just different, right? Like getting to experience a whole different world. And I love that I have the ability. I'm fortunate, and I know that that I get to experience this in so many places because, you know, like you said, people get busy, you know, you hear about these things, but you don't have the opportunity or the chances to do it. And I'm literally out here living my best life, being able to do that and
Mhm.
somehow managing to still somehow balance most of my life and all of those things as well. So, I mean, it's, yeah, I'm definitely blessed and I know that I'm grateful.
So when you say is you're relearning foraging in Alberta, is it just different flora, or is it like the different environment, or
It's both because I'm a mushroom lover. I absolutely love fungi. I think it's the coolest thing ever, and I love going out and learning different things. But you know, different environment. So obviously, we have a lot of forest fires in Alberta. So you're going to be seeing certain species more than you're going to be seeing others. And you know, in Ontario, I'm really big on like the pheasant backs and things like that, and those are a little bit more difficult to find here. So having to like relearn my mushroom skills because obviously, you know, you can eat any mushroom once. But that's not always the best thing. So
yeah?
that way, it's been really interesting. And you know, again, like there's so many different plants that you take for granted in the different places you go. But I like making tinctures and stuff. Like I use bear grease and things like that with like goldenrod, for example, or like just
Okay,
different plants that you see more of
like as an
maybe here than you do.
antiparasitic, you mean?
No, that one is actually really great for sore muscles
Oh, okay, okay.
randomly. Yeah. So, or yarrow. So yarrow is really cool. And they actually discovered that it has certain properties because it killed a whole bunch of cows in Alberta, like way back when. And that's how they discovered warfarin. So,
Oh, really? Huh.
yeah, because it was making cows bleed internally, like horribly, because they had hay that got like infested with it.
Yeah.
And the cows were eating it and then they were dying from internal hemorrhaging. And
Huh.
that's part of how they discovered warfarin for
Bunch of
blood thinning.
hemophiliac cows led to the
Right,
warfarin.
right. So just weird stuff like that, but just learning how you can utilize different plants for it because I absolutely love the apothecary side of things when it comes to that. So
Okay.
yeah, actually that's a big part of what's in my book.
Well,
Randomly.
and I feel like we're like steadily segueing towards the
Yeah.
book, but before we get like super into it, where did you like? I don't. You've had let's say a couple of decades on the planet.
Yep.
Where did you learn all of this stuff?
So I learned all over the place, honestly. You know, between again, my dad is from New Brunswick, and you know he's a big outdoorsman. Spent many months in the bush with him. Grew up in New Brunswick in the summers, so I did get a lot of it with him. You know, with my grandparents. Learned quite a bit from a lot of different elders and people that I've been around. You know, over the last couple of decades. Even just some of the people out here that I've been talking to and you know, I get little tidbits of information passed along, but a lot of it even is just research. I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd that way. So I like reading. I like learning again about physiology. I have my undergraduate in biomed sciences. So I like
Mm.
understanding how our bodies work, why, what makes them work, how things work physiologically from the inside. I actually used to be a sponsored athlete. I was in the bodybuilding world for 7 years. And a part
Oh,
of my job with that was being able to tell people how and why supplements worked for them and what was bogus and what was real. So
hmm.
even learning within the natural world, you know, was really important to me. And after I got sick, it became even more important because I wanted to really understand the things I was putting in my body, things that I should be putting in my body, you know, like nature's medicine. So I started, you know, looking into things and talking to different people from different backgrounds. And it's just been kind of like a snowball effect from there. And then a lot of even trial and error with just myself.
Mm.
So it's, yeah, I mean, it's a plethora of information from all over.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like some of it is self-taught, some of it is formal education, some of it is cultural education.
Hmm.
You just kind of like sponge the
I
whole
just
thing
take it all.
together.
Just give it to me. Yep.
Yeah.
I like
Was
that.
it always an interest? Like or did it kind of accelerate in adulthood, or was it?
I'd say it accelerated. So physiology and anatomy were always of interest, and biology. Ever since I was a little kid, I was that kid finding bones and hot gluing them back together. I always wonder. I know I'm not a serial killer, I promise, but
That's
I've
better than pulling the wings off of flies.
Yes.
yes, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
was always so interested in how things with our bodies worked because it reminded me of like the watchmaker. Every single watch, you know, is built a certain way and all the gears have to function at exactly specific points to make it work right. And the human body is very similar, but we do have variation. And
Mm.
why? Why are there variations? What can, you know, improve certain functions? Why are there, you know, deficiencies in certain areas? Depending where you live, what you have access to, always been an interest to me, and that was part of the research that I did. So it's all just been like interests that developed over time, that I've had since I was like 3. So
Yeah.
yeah, some autistic people like trains, some people are
Glue bones
obsessed
back
with them.
together.
The world.
Right? You know?
Yeah.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. It obviously worked out. I mean, you've got to, you got enough knowledge to write a book. I mean,
You know, it's funny because I always talk to my kids about this too, because I was that weird kid that grew up to be that weird adult who's
Mhm.
now, you know, making kind of a career out of it. And you know, I've always said, like, whatever, be true to yourself. Who cares? People think you're weird. People think you're strange, but it doesn't matter because someday they're going to come and pay you for that information. You know,
Yeah.
like I was weird and I was whatever, and that's fine. But now people come to me every day asking me questions about things. And I'm like, well, being weird kind of paid off, right? Like,
Yeah.
never very like trying to fit into that little, you know, cube of what people wanted me to be. And if I had listened to those people, I can't even imagine what my life would look like right now, honestly.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, and
no,
you
it's
turned
good.
it into a career, right? I mean,
Totally.
that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm living the dream and I'm grateful. It's good. It's good stuff.
Cool. So I still feel like we're inching our way towards the book. I'm just kind of delaying that whole
Yeah,
gratification
yeah.
there. You had mentioned a couple of minutes ago when you became ill and how you became interested in like natural stuff like that.
Hmm.
Do you want to go? Because a lot of our people listening to this or watching it may not know about that sort of stuff, and you've been pretty open about it on some of your social media. So
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, back in 2017, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And it was one of those things where I had no symptoms. It wasn't, you know, it was kind of like found by accident. And from there, we ended up doing family history. And it was determined that I was a paternal recipient of a gene, a mutated gene, BCRA2. So I carry the female cancer gene. So
Hmm.
I had a prophylactic mastectomy, reconstruction, hysterectomy, the whole whatever. Ended up losing my thyroid also. And
Oh,
it was fun. It was so
all
fun.
of your thyroid?
Yeah. So I have no thyroid. I have all that stuff is gone. So I'm on thyroid medication, obviously, for the rest of my life, which I cannot naturally supplement.
Sure.
But outside of that, you know, it was really important to me to try to find ways to keep myself feeling healthy and strong, because again, I was in the fitness industry for years and years, and it was a huge hit to me to not be able to do a lot of what I was doing before. You know, all of a sudden I can't put my arms above my head.
Hmm.
And I had to find ways that I could still feel good and feel like my body could recover. And, you know, but I didn't want to pump myself full of chemicals because I was like, well, clearly I've had enough of that crap. And, you know,
Yeah.
you hear like, I was, yeah. So, yeah, I just started doing a lot of research. I had the time because I was off, you know, recovering from, I had 7 surgeries in 5 years,
Wow.
something along those lines anyways. So
All
it
related
was,
to the cancer?
yeah.
Holy crap.
So, and the crazy part about it is that it was mostly prophylactic. Like I had my
Okay.
cervix removed, obviously, which was treatment for the cervical cancer. I was
That's
very
where you
lucky
had
that way.
the actual cancer.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
I'm very lucky that way because treatment is removal. That's cool. But then having, you know, my chest removed, my uterus removed, all of those things prophylactically to prevent any type of further cancer,
Right.
was actually the hard part, the shitty part, because, you know, with my chest, for example, they were wanting to do a lot of experimental things because I didn't have cancer. They said, well, let's try doing this and let's try doing that. And, you know, we're going to try to save this and we're going to, and it was just like, holy hell, just cut them off. I don't even care anymore. Like, I don't need them, you know, like I'm done. Oh man, just whatever. And then I ended up dying in the last surgery for 3 minutes and they couldn't figure out
During the
why.
mastectomy surgery?
Yeah, during the reconstruction.
During the reconstruction. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so literally 3 minutes I was gone. I was lucky because I was intubated anyway. So no hypoxic injury. Like I'm
Yeah.
mostly there, I think. But
You seem like it. I'll give you a 10 out of
yeah.
10 on still being conscious.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah.
know, maybe a piece of me is somewhere else, but yeah, and that was at the point finally when I was like, okay, like I think that's a pretty good indicator that I'm done. Like what I get
Yeah.
now is what I get. But yeah, like it was a lot, and it was mentally a lot to go through all of that, and every year having to go through more surgery and the pain and the recovery and just the bullshit, you know. And
Hmm.
I just I started to really explore, like, man, was this even the right choice? Like, should I have just said screw it and just taken my chances? I
Mhm.
did what I did at the time because I wanted to be here for my kids. I didn't want to take the chance that I was going to become more ill. And before they found it, it metastasized. And all of a sudden, I'm dealing with mets in my brain or my stomach or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, like the trauma from that. And again, I didn't have to go through what a lot of people do, like there's chemo and all. Like I never had to deal with that. And I'm so grateful.
You never
But
had to do chemo at all.
I never had to do chemo at all. So I'm like, I'm
Well, I
so
suppose if
happy
you're
about
having
that.
half of your body removed,
Just saying, right? I know. I'm like,
that's
I'm really
good enough.
seriously running out of parts. I'm like, all I got left is my gallbladder. So like,
Mm,
but
Hopefully, you don't
it's
eat too many fatty foods then.
yeah.
yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm pretty good that way, right? I'm
Uh,
natural,
your
for the most
gallbladder is
part.
like tip top.
Yeah, my gallbladder is great. It's good. I'm not 40 yet. So what do they say? 40 female and or fat 40 and female, I think is like the three F's for gallbladder. I don't know.
Oh, is it?
I'm doing
Okay.
okay on at least some of those for right now, but
Jeepers.
it's yeah. So people don't really talk about like post-surgical traumas and just the trauma of losing parts of you that are considered to be like your identity as a woman.
Sure. Yeah.
And bar the fact that I'm a mother and I have kids and I
Mm.
still consider myself to be a complete woman, there's still a mourning period where, you are removed all of a sudden of the choice that, you would have had prior to that when it comes to children, childbearing and, different things. So
Mm,
there's a whole kind of part to it that people don't really like recognize and talk about. And so I try to be open about it. I try to talk about it.
yeah.
I have a lot of people within that community that we share content and things. And that's a big part of my TikTok was talking about like surgical traumas and like my specific things and trying to normalize it a little bit and have fun with it and humor. And, that's like
Mhm.
the best way to deal with trauma for me anyways. But yeah, so that's kind of when I actually even got into hunting myself alone because I grew up with it. Like I was always around it. But after I got sick, I said, I want to do this on my own. I don't want to rely on other people. I've been saying for years, I'm going to go get my pal. I've been saying for years, I'm going to start hunting. I literally I had surgery on November 19th. I had just finished my PAL course. I was actually writing my exam 3 days after my surgery. I went and bought a bow that day and just went and sat in a tree. I didn't see shit, obviously. I didn't
Yeah.
see anything, but I was
Yeah.
so determined to just get out there and do what I was doing. And it was almost like the cancer just pushed me to do that. So I'm grateful for
Interesting.
that. Like good and positive things come out of it too. It's not all bad and whatever, but yeah. So that is a huge part of my story, right? And how I even
Sure.
got involved in any of this. So
So, were you very heavily involved in guns in general in your adult life prior to getting sick?
no.
Not at all.
No, not at all. So 30 years old was when everything started for me. Yeah, I'd always
Really?
obviously been a big supporter of hunters. A lot of my family were obviously hunters. I come from a long line of firearms owners. My grandfather used to own a gun store in New Brunswick, that gunsmithing. So, I mean, I come from the line, but I never on my own because I was always, oh, I'm a mom. I have small kids in the house, blah, blah, blah.
Mm,
And, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then when I got sick, I was like, holy shit, I might not have a later. So
sure.
all these things like I need to do that. I need to do that now. And then right around the same time, COVID happened. And I was so grateful that I had already started hunting and already started all that. And I was just like, okay,
Mm.
we're good. Like no matter what happens, like I have my family and everybody that used to make fun of me because they're like, oh, you're a prepper, you're a forager, you're a hunter. Now all of a sudden they're like, so, hey, Jerrika, like, what's up? I was thinking maybe you could teach me. And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like, but it's great. And I'm glad that so many people are waking up to wanting to do these things and, taking back that power of being able to go out and source their own foods and know where they come from. And just, again, field to table. Like I'm so big on it, like it's such a
Mhm.
good, great feeling. And to be able to provide for your family in that way, like nothing like it. So,
Interesting.
Part of
So,
that a mental kind of recovery and being outside
mhm.
and like the foraging you do. How do you tie that together? Because obviously there's a physical health aspect of what you're foraging, what you're gathering, what you're making. Um, but how do you see that in terms of you have a blend of obviously it would be mentally beneficial. How do you view that process in your healing?
So for me, I mean, just putting my feet in the grass, right? Like being grounded when I'm outside is something that definitely is healing for me. And then getting to take the time to just be present in the moment, really be mindful about what I'm picking, what I'm taking, being thankful for it, only taking what I need. It's just that whole being out in nature and understanding that connection that we have to everything, and bringing that back home to my family and being able to use those things again. Like, I was really big on cedar tea because it was told to me that cedar tea was so high in vitamin C, so good for you when you're recovering, that it became a big integral part of my recovery. So going out and being able to harvest that, and having the knowledge that I'm doing these things that I know are helpful and that I know also are sustainable, that, it's not creating harm, having these things. I mean, we think about like big pharma, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm gonna get struck by lightning here talking about it. But and even as a nurse, right, it's so conflicting for me because they're like, take this, take this, take this. Well, if I don't have to, like, I'm not going to. And if I can supplement things in nature to help with my recovery and healing, and even just having the sun shining on my damn skin and getting that vitamin D, I'm going to do that above doing anything else, But I've even said a million times, when I'm having a shitty, stressful day at my clinic, I will literally just go to my dad's. My dad has a little acreage, and I'll just go and lay in the mud, put my feet in the grass, climb in the trees, just listen to everything. And just that helps me to just ground myself and relax and not worry about, this first world bullshit that we live in, and just bring me back to the things that we need. And realistically, it's very little. We're spoiled with everything that we have now, but just bringing us back to those basic fundamental needs and just laying there and taking it in.
Would you say you were in tune with that stuff prior to 2017, or is it like, because you said you were bodybuilding a lot, you weren't really doing the hunting or the guns or anything like that? Were you doing, like, because the picture that I'm getting when you're talking right now is that it was like Jerrika the city slicker, lifting weights and doing competitions and all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah, 9 to 5
being a
nerds.
nurse, which is
Yeah.
involved, like you said, in
Five
the
to nine.
pharmaceutical industry, all that. Then
Yeah.
Jerrika gets sick, and it's like tree hugging hippie time, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. No. So actually, no. I have always been an outdoor lover. I am a
Okay.
water lover. I grew up near the beach. Like I said, I spent my summers in New Brunswick and in Mexico. My grandparents actually lived in Mexico, so I did spend a couple
Yeah.
summers there as well, randomly. And I was always big on just being outside and exploring. And like I said, I was the kid that was like gluing bones back together. And I
Yeah.
grew up in a town where we had marshes. So I'm exploring the biomes that's there, the snails, and raising tadpoles. And I've always been an outside kid, just, I guess, like a little bit restricted when it did come to like my education and things like that, because I did end up having to spend more time, in the books, in school, in class. But even with my kids, I was that parent that was out, again, getting tadpoles and fishing and showing them crawfish. And, like we did science experiments outside and stuff. So I'm very much about being outside and taking that in. And, like camping, all of that has always been a really integral part of my life. I guess it's just more taking the time to be mindful to make sure that it's a part of my life now, and not letting it take a backseat. It's just very important. It's in the forefront now, as opposed to just an interest that I had, if that
So
makes
maybe
sense.
more of a rediscovery and an appreciation
Yeah,
rather than an actual discovery on its
for
own.
sure. Yeah, more of the mindfulness to just make sure that I'm, again, just making it an integral part of my life, because I saw the benefits. I understood at that point that, even bringing back those things from my childhood, laying in the sun, in the dirt forever, and, doing these things and not worrying about getting dirty and whatever, and playing. And it brought back, again, like I said, those basic needs, right? And you
Mhm.
do get lost in the hustle of every day. I was working 12-hour shifts at the hospital, and, I worked in psych. So that's very mentally draining when you're
Mhm.
putting all of your empathy into other people. Taking that time for yourself to just literally blank out and only focus on what is in front of you,
Mhm.
you know?
So in regards to hunting, let's talk about that a little bit, and then let's finally get
Mhm.
into the book. Um, what generally what are you hunting with?
So I do everything.
Everything. Okay.
Everything. So the big thing with being in Ontario is that we only have 1 week out of the year that we can do a controlled hunt for deer. So that is black powder, depending on where you are, or shotgun. And the rest of the season is bow. So I've always been a bow hunter, as well as rifle or shotgun for any good game. But yeah, I have like a 6.5 PRC Bergara that Odell is one of my sponsors for my show. So I'm a big Canuck and Bergara user, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So definitely utilizing their shotguns as well. Yeah, and I have an Excalibur bow that I've had literally my entire hunting career and I love. Yeah, and I do anything and everything that I can that way. So I have a 410 over under for hunting pheasants and grouse and bush, just all those things. Using 12 gauge semi-auto for waterfowl, for turkey. Using
Are you
my
using
rifle
the
for.
Engage?
I have the Hudson.
You have the Hudson. Okay.
I have the Hudson. Yes, I have the
Have,
Hudson.
have you ever used the Engage?
No, I
What?
feel there's a story with that.
Well, it looks so. I remember when Phil first brought it in, one of the first YouTube reviews on it. I ended up doing one, but before I even got my hands on it, who was it that was it Coat of Arms?
Okay.
Somebody had done a review on it, but they did this post-apocalyptic theme to their whole review because it just looks like it belongs in a post-apocalyptic setting. You know which one I'm talking about, though, right? Or should I bring a picture of it up?
Maybe bring a picture up because I'm kind of like post-apocalyptic. What the hell?
That's funny. I did a search for Engage shotgun, and our review is the first thing that came up in Google. Fuck yeah! And Coat of Arms was the second one.
Nice.
That's just my own little back padding there. Let's go with Bullseye North here. Let me share my screen and we'll
another one of my sponsors. Good pick. Good pick.
There you go. There you go. Where am I? There. That's what I want to share. So there's the Engage.
Oh.
So it really does kind of give you those
Terminator-esque.
Yeah, Terminator or like post-apocalyptic zombie killer kind of vibes. In fact, so this is the screenshot from Coat of Arms review, and it was this whole like world has ended post-apocalyptic theme. And so what I did my review, this is still when we were under the first Focal Plane podcast, but when I did my review, I subtitled it "It's not just for shooting zombies." Because theirs was the only other review on the shotgun at the time.
Right. That's too funny. Yeah, I don't know.
I genuinely had a reason for mentioning the Engage, and now that I've gone on that tangent, I can't even remember why I was mentioning it. I guess I was just mentioning it to mention it. Whatever.
We're talking about what she hunts with.
Yeah. Okay. So you use the Hudson.
I do. I do. Okay. Yes. No post-apocalyptic hunting for me.
That's fair.
Not yet.
I mean, it's cool. Not yet. Anyways. Yeah. People always do joke about that. They're like, if anything ever did go down, you're the person I want on my team. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess I probably am pretty well-rounded that way. But
what a natural consequence, though. Hey.
Yeah.
How many people would actually show up at your house and that's exactly what you don't want to have happen?
Honestly, for real, I know. I'm just thinking that, like, oh my God, yeah.
I remembered why I mentioned the Engage because so many people think that it's this gimmicky, weird, like post-apocalyptic shotgun. And I thought the same thing because I never wanted to do a review on the Engage. Phil was like, "Hey, why don't you guys review the Engage?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so he sent it to us anyway. He basically kind of pushed it on us. And then I started using the thing and I'm like, this thing is fucking great. Like it's smooth as hell. It like cycles really well. It doesn't look like it would be comfortable to shoot, but it actually is like super comfortable to shoot. It was a really, really nice shotgun. And I know that he had, I don't know exactly who, but I know some of the other people that they're sponsoring are using it. So I was just, full circle. I was wondering if you were one of the people that were using it, but you're not. And now I've wasted a whole bunch of time. Carry on.
That's okay. No, that's all good. That's all good. Yeah, like I said, I hunt with everything. I use that 6.5 for a lot of my large game. Yeah, that's pretty much the only rifle really that I have a ton of experience with in terms of hunting big game. Like I have a 223 that I use for coyotes and stuff like that, but I don't really do a lot of that hunting. For me, I'm a sustenance hunter. And although I see people's, stance on hunting, things like that, I don't eat them. So I don't personally, it's just not my thing. And like I said, I have done it for sure. Like I'm not saying anything negative about it. It's just when I hunt, I like to hunt for sustenance. So yeah, I'm more focusing on that kind of stuff. So it definitely a fun hunt for sure. And I have hunted wild hogs in Florida. So yeah, it's so cool.
I almost went Burmese python hunting in Florida last year.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
Yeah, we were actually we were going to get it. We've told ourselves we're going to do it. Of course,
Right.
we had this romantic notion of like being out there. We were going to like because we read the regulations and you can use whatever the fuck you want, and people are
It's
using
Florida.
like yeah, but people use
Yeah.
like tridents and axes and like so what they do is they
Samurai sword.
no, they do literally. So
Oh my God.
we were reading this one blog where this guy it's a pair of people that were hunting them, and they were trident spiking it to the ground, and then they lopped the head off with an axe. And that's the biggest regulation for hunting python in Florida is that they say that you have to destroy the brain. So
Okay.
if you're hunting with a firearm, you have to head shoot it.
Okay.
And so for that
Oh, wow.
reason, a lot of people use manual tools because they consider destroying the brain. Like if you cut the head off, then you're good to go.
Mm.
So that's what a lot of people do. They spike it to the ground so that with a trident so that it's not moving. And then like samurai sword, axe, like you name it, they lop the head. And that's how they harvest this thing. And so we had these romantic notions. I was going to take the trident and I was going to spike it. And then my buddy he owns multiple samurai swords, and he was going to take a samurai sword and behead this thing. And we were just like, being childish about it. And then, but we didn't want to go out ourselves. And the reason we didn't want to go out ourselves is we don't go outdoors in Florida. We didn't want to go tromping through the Everglades. We don't know anything about the area. We know that it can be very dangerous. There's lots of things in the Everglades that'll try to kill you.
Yep.
So we wanted to go with a guide. And it was $4,000. And we were like, $4,000. It didn't even make any sense because the state of Florida will pay per head because it's an invasive species. And so just like Saskatchewan did years ago with coyotes, they paid people to cull them.
Yep.
They're paying people to cull these Burmese pythons. So we're like, and I'm like, do we get to keep the python heads? And they're like, no, we keep those. And I'm like, so you're going to charge us $4,000 to go out. It's only one day, $4,000. And you're going to make the money off of all of the harvesting. Like, how much sense does that make? So we ended up not doing it. But
I think a hog was like $300.
I could do $300, no problem.
Yeah, like it was pretty cheap. I don't know. I don't think I'd pay $4,000 to hunt a snake.
No.
But that's just me. I don't know. That's not, like even all these hunts in different countries and stuff, like I'm offered all the time, and it's just not something that I really have a lot of interest in. And it's not, and again, like, it's not that I'm judging people, because do whatever, man, do you. But for me, I'm like, why am I going to go shoot a different animal every day for 10 days? To not even be able to bring it home to feed my family and stuff. Like, I'm not into it to just go out, shoot stuff to kill. Like, it's just never been my shtick. So, like, more power to people who want to do it, whatever. I know it helps the economy there, that people there use everything. But it just doesn't align with my ethical standing. And I think a snake is right up there with that. Because, like,
yeah, I don't blame you for that. Yeah, it was 100% just a childish fantasy on our part.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, like I said, like, no judgment, man. Like, live your best life, But for me, I'm just like, I don't know about that. But and especially for $4,000, I can just think of so many things that I could do with $4,000 right now, and none of them involve killing a snake.
It was almost the same amount of money to go hog hunting from a helicopter in Texas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and that's way cooler. And then the meat that you're going to use, right?
Like, absolutely, it's just,
So,
well, that thing is, they'll do a bar, like, for $4,000. They'll take you up in the chopper. They'll help you harvest it, and then they'll do a barbecue cook for you with the hog that you got. I mean, like, that's a much better.
Yeah, no, that's a cool
and you get
experience.
to listen to CCF. The CCR on the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. That's just all part of the experience. They provide the aviators. Like, it's
I 100% would not do CCR. I would be the Ride of the Valkyries guy.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Probably appreciate the change.
Can I interrupt us for a second here? A moment ago, a thumbs up thought bubble popped up beside your head. Do we know how that happened?
Beside mine?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know how that happened?
No, it wasn't.
It was so weird. It popped up on the side of your head. It was like a thought bubble popped up to your head, and it was just a thumbs up for a moment. You didn't see it?
Really? I didn't do that, and I didn't see it. No, that's so
I,
weird.
I don't even know. Like I've been clicking around ever since then. Like, how the fuck did that happen?
I don't know. Well, that's weird.
Oh, that is really strange. Okay, well, I'll have to try and
Yeah.
figure that out. Jonathan Bergen's asking us a question. What about camel hunting in the outback in Australia?
That's different. It's so hard, right? Because I'm just like, man, it's like giraffes, you know? Like I just see this peaceful animal eating a leaf in a tree, and I'm like, why? Like,
Well,
I
he
don't
makes a good
know.
point, though. He says apparently it's similar to beef with the meat.
Okay. If it's something that I can eat and something I can bring, see, here's the thing though, I can't bring meat from another country home to feed my family. So if
Right.
I'm in Australia for a month, I'd feel like I'd need longer than that to eat
There
a
it's
camel.
again. There
But
it
You
is.
see that?
oh, well, that was weird because I didn't do that.
What the fuck is going on?
If I was in Australia for like a
infiltrated.
month and I
Yeah.
had the time to like eat this thing, then yeah, okay, for sure, right? Like, I mean, I'm in a country where they're invasive feral animal, invasive feral camels.
Yes.
Now I'm interested.
It's actually quite
That's
crazy.
so cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, see, and I have no idea. And that's part of it, right? Is it's my ignorance in what's going on in other countries and stuff. Again, if I'm a resident or I'm somebody visiting Australia and I'm going to be there and I'm going to utilize the animal and I'm going to eat it, heck yeah, then that's a totally different story. But as somebody who lives primarily in Canada, who has access to Canadian animals, who feeds my family with the meat here, who has no interest in leaving to just shoot things for the sake of shooting them,
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean, right? Like if I'm staying somewhere, I'm Airbnb-ing in Australia and there's an invasive camel, sure, you know, like if it's going to feed my family, then I'm here to hunt the invasive camels.
Well, I'm in Australia anyways, and there is this feral camel over here.
Right, these feral camels. I love the idea of that. I really do. I want to
That
see
does
these
sound like a
invasive
great
feral
episode.
camels.
Yeah.
Are they mean? They spit,
Yeah.
but are
Well,
they
they're
mean?
feral.
They can be
Very
very
true.
How nice
aggressive.
can they
Feral.
be?
Interesting. So cool.
I-
Australia in general scares me though. I hate spiders.
oh yeah.
Anything in this world, I'm like, I'll hold a snake or whatever. Spiders and I. So I
Yeah.
feel like everything in Australia is a nope for me.
Have you ever been to Australia or Hawaii?
No.
So Hawaii is at least the Big Island. I'm not sure about all. I think all of them are, but at least the Big Island. They're one of the most safest. Like nothing is trying to kill you there except for the geological events. You know,
Yeah.
the volcanoes.
Well, yeah. Just volcanoes. No
Yeah,
big deal.
like they've literally like they've got some feral pigs, but apparently like not very many. Most of what's out there is goats, like feral goats. But and most they've got lots of insects, but
Yeah.
like
Ugh, yeah.
practically the only poisonous insect on the island is giant millipedes. And
Oh, see,
apparently
the things
their
nightmares
mouths
are
aren't
made
even,
of.
yes, but apparently their mouths aren't even big enough to really bite humans.
Somehow, though, that still doesn't make me like them anymore.
Yeah.
I hear you
I
on
still
that.
feel like it's a nope, because all it would have to do is touch me and I'd pass away. So,
What they do have are these massive spiders with massive
oh yeah,
legs,
see, also a nope.
big with these blue, they're like a bright like sapphire blue with these massive legs, but they're completely harmless and they're
See,
everywhere.
they say harmless, but again, just would have to see one. Like it would have to surprise me, and I'd pass away.
Yeah.
I can
And you would,
honestly.
'cause they're everywhere.
Oh my God. See, I can't even like these big toilet spiders and stuff. Like those are things enough to convince me not to go anywhere where these things live because like I have PTSD from Arachnophobia, the movie.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. I can't. Spiders and I like not
Is that
even
John
joking.
Goodman in that?
I don't remember honestly. I just know that it was awful and like that, like the spider in the helmet or the hat, like literally my worst nightmare.
The
I
only thing
remember moving last year with my partner and I had moving boxes in the basement. So I remember bringing one upstairs and looking down and this big friggin' spider was on me. And I remember swatting it and screaming and not entering my living room for 4 hours because we couldn't find it. And I was like, burn the House down. I'm out. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm going to Alaska. Forget this. I can't do it. So spiders are a no. Literally anything in the world, yes. Spiders, no. So if there are spiders, no.
I gotta bring up one story about spiders that's relevant to Canada.
Oh no.
I was in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut, for a
Okay.
duration of time, and one of my essentially my coworkers at the time was telling me a story on how they got a barge shipment in, because again, this is in the archipelago of Nunavut. So in the summertime, the barge comes in with a lot of supplies,
Mhm.
and inside a crate that they got was a small spider, like your average, in the woods, little itty bitty penny sized spider. So he took it home and he brought it to his then girlfriend, because in that region of Nunavut, they do not get spiders. She had never seen a spider before in her life. So as soon as he showed it to her, she proceeded to lock herself in the bathroom. And of course, he slid it under the bathroom door, as any good
No.
boyfriend would. So,
And
Chris,
is he single now? Because he would be single if that was my boyfriend.
yes.
And you know what? This is the type of thing that like they found out afterwards that it was a black widow or something, you know?
Oh God, right? Like some crazy poison. You hear about it in like bananas and fruit at the grocery store, and I'm like, no,
I've seen it.
no.
I've seen a spider in lettuce once
Oh my God, I
at the
can't. Like
local
it just
superstore.
seriously. I'm okay if I know that they're there, and I'm like, I can see it, and I'm like, okay, I see you. You do your thing. It's when they surprise me. I can't. Like I just literally, that's such a huge nope for me. I remember driving one time and there was a spider on the windshield, and I can't scream and freak out and pull over. I pulled my sandal off and I went like this and I drove like that for 20 kilometers because I was afraid to move my hand in case I didn't get it. Oh my God, man. I just, yeah, no, literally cannot. Cannot.
So arachnophobia, 1990.
Oh God.
Oh, by the way, Roadhouse is out on Amazon Prime. If you, in
Did
case
hear
you
that.
guys, in case you want to see a partially shirtless Jake Gyllenhaal.
Not my
Um,
style.
but arachnophobia, it was Jeff Daniels and John Goodman. I can't
Okay.
believe I
Oh,
remember
yes. John
John
Goodman was
Goodman.
like the exterminator,
He
wasn't he?
was, that's right.
Yes. Okay, that's right.
And
Yeah.
literally the only thing I remember about that movie was I forget which of the actors it was, but he sits on the can and the spider was inside the toilet rim and it bites him on the ass and he
See?
dies.
Yeah. See? Can't. Nope. Nightmare. Nightmare.
Jerrika's
No.
not going to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Chris.
I'll be sleeping in a bubble where it's spiderless. Just
Okay, so we've been putting it off long enough. Let's talk about your book. You wrote a book.
I did. So
Why don't you write a book about it?
yeah.
Here,
So I
let
wrote
me maximize your screen here so we can see that cover
Sure.
because it
Mhm.
looks like such a great cover. I know you're extremely happy with the cover.
Oh, so the publisher kind of dinked up on this copy of the cover. Like, I mean, the picture itself is what it's supposed to be, but you can see the borders are a little funny on it. Whatever. At the end of the day, I'm not going to cry
Oh,
too
you're
much
right.
about it.
I wouldn't have even noticed that.
And most people wouldn't, but because I designed the cover myself, I was a little pissed.
Okay.
Everything else in the book was like lined up fine. Like the information is all there. The problem was just how, I don't know why, but anyways, they're fixing it. But just to give you an idea on what it kind of looks like. So in this book, I go a little bit into a whole bunch of different categories. Things from, again, the philosophy of full utilization, which is like really important to me, to mastering cooking with wild game, rendering down animal fats, the apothecary, again, like different things that I forage and how I utilize them, identifying flora, fungi, etc. So again, important. Again, mushrooms especially are really important to identify properly. Hide work, things like that. Just living a natural lifestyle, everything from kind of start to finish. So I do show people like how to break down their own meats, like how to butcher them themselves, how to can different meats, cooking with the different wild meats. I've got like some recipe pages in there, different things that I like to do. I talk a little bit about, again, like rendering down fats. I render down bear fat, render down moose fat, use it as tallow. I try to use every single piece of every animal that I can, bone marrow broth down to bone meal for your garden, like literally as much as I can. So that book just kind of goes into as much as I could fit into 110 pages, it's a volume 1. There's going to be more volumes, but there's only so much you can kind of jam in before it's like, okay, like this is getting to be a little crazy. But yeah, I wrote this book because I really, people come to me all the time asking me questions about things. And I thought it was a really good resource for people to be able to have to kind of guide them into how they want to get into full utilization, or, where they feel about when it comes to respecting their harvest. And I tell everybody, I don't expect you to go out and flesh your hide and make leather. Like, I get it. People are busy, but I promise you, there's always somebody who's willing to do it. So even if you yourself are not going to utilize your hide, for example, you put so much time into putting tree stands up, putting out cameras, doing all this. Take the 10 minutes to skin it really nicely, properly, without knife scars and everything else. Roll it up, throw it in the freezer, and I promise you someone will come grab it. Like if you're in Edmonton area, holler at your girl, I will come get it. It's a valuable thing to a lot of people. So just telling people kind of how to do that stuff, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. So you got volume 1, your first edition has printed. Is it available yet, or?
So I do have limited copies of this one, again, because of the way that it printed. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to put it out yet because I was like not super happy with it. And I didn't like the idea of putting out a half-assed product. But I did bring it with me to the Edmonton show. I did actually sell 20 copies while I was there.
Okay.
So I am, making it available on Instagram for people who want to reach out. Obviously, it's kind of a weird edition. So as long as people are okay with
valuable.
that. Yeah, I keep hearing that. Everybody's like, it'll be more valuable because it's like limited. I only have 50 copies. So I mean,
I told you this before. I want one, and I only want one of the fucked up covers.
Right?
That's all I want.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a fucked up book just for you. No,
perfect. We'll talk about it.
You'll say to Chris, this book reminds me of you.
Because it's all fucked up. Perfect.
A little bit messed up.
Right. Yeah. So I am selling them. I wasn't going to, but I figure, you know what, I might as well recover some of the costs that it did take to get 50 copies printed, but it'll become a super rare collectible. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. But other than that, I was really happy. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to put it out. The fact that I wrote this, like with everything else that I've been doing, I'm pretty stoked about it. And I think it's an important message to get out there. So for people who do want a copy, absolutely, I'm willing to sell it. You can message me on Instagram, Facebook, however, we can sort out those details. And then eventually, once I do have the proper copies printed, then I will have them up on a website where people can purchase it. And I'll probably also make the PDF version available for people as well, just because I know some people just like having a digital copy. And then that way I know that my borders and parameters aren't messed up too.
Just put it on like Kindle or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is I know Amazon KDP has like opportunities for that stuff as well. So I probably will have an online version for people. And I might even actually throw it on Amazon KDP as well, just to make it easier for people to get access to it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
What's the timeline look like for the next print, just so people are
so I'm hoping within the next month. I'm talking to 2 different publishers in Edmonton right now. It's such a minor, stupid thing, it's just how I am. I just want it to look right. I want it to be done right. And I might even just with like the size of it and stuff, the feedback that I've been getting, there may even be benefit to making it a little bit smaller, things like that. So I'm just in talks right now, but I'm hoping within the next month. So hoping for end of April, but we'll see how quickly people move.
and then you'll start working on volume 2 and kind of turn it into one of those like Encyclopedia Britannica situations.
Yes. And I actually already have a couple of chapters of volume 2 written. So, it's based on feedback people give me too, right? What they want to see. And even with my TV show, the most feedback that I got was that people really love that I show after the hunt, because there's already enough shows on there showing you how to hunt things. It's literally the afterwards, right? Very meat eater kind of feel, where it's like, what I'm doing once the game is down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you should get some, once you get the cover where you want it, you should get some hard covers printed out. Yep. You approach all the gas stations.
Okay.
Because if you remember, you may, I don't know, Derek, how old are you?
I'm 29 right now.
Okay, I don't know. neither of you may be old enough to remember this.
Mhm.
But if I'll tell you this, if Doug Rodenbush is still with us, he'll be old enough to remember this. That's
I think so.
how you used to get all those Encyclopedia Britannica editions that our
Okay.
parents or our grandparents or whatever had lined up for some insane reason in a bookshelf somewhere
Right.
in the house. They used to sell them at gas stations. So
Okay.
you would go fill up your tank, and then you would get like this discounted book because you filled up your tank at that specific
Oh,
gas station,
interesting.
and you'd get like every
The
month they'd have a
volumes,
different
yeah.
volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I think you should bring that back.
That would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. I had it in my head that it was kind of like the whole almanac thing, right? Like hence like even the cover that I went for, it was
It
like
does look like
That's the
that.
vibe I'm
the
getting
old
to. Yeah.
almanacs.
It's funny
But
you say that. The first thing I thought of was when I first saw the cover was the sports almanac from the second Back to the Future movie.
oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know why, but in my mind's eye, it looks very similar.
Okay. Yeah.
I got to look it up.
I
Back
just
to the
literally tried to like put little bits of like, I'm like all my animals, and then I've got like some mushrooms because again, I'm like super obsessed with mushrooms. So
It doesn't
um
look anything like it. I don't know why it reminded me of it at all.
oh, that's too funny.
So, what
Well,
was
Yeah.
the
anyway,
writing process like? Was it easy? A little bit of a challenge?
Well, I mean, after you've written as many medical papers as I have, it was a lot more enjoyable than that. I'll put it that way because it's something that I actually have a
I'll
lot of
believe you.
interest in. It
Mhm.
was not too bad because again, I like to throw a little bit of humor in there, but just making it an easy reader for people just getting into it. I just did a little bit at a time, and then it was funny because I finished this book probably 6 times, and then just kept adding to it. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I just need to stop and then just get this one out and then just continue writing more of them because otherwise I'm just going to have this big ass book and it's better just to have smaller volumes, I think, for people. And that
Mhm.
way I can also be getting feedback about what people want in additional volumes. So I've actually been asked before to do just a straight cookbook with Wild Game. And I do like the idea of that, but I think that it's more fun putting recipes into each volume because then people are like getting little bits with each volume that they're getting too. And when I'm talking about certain wild things that I'm foraging and I'm including that in the volumes as well, it just kind of everything ties in together instead of
Mhm.
just having one big giant cookbook. So,
Yeah.
and also because I'm learning as I go too, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like I said, I've only been hunting for 7 years. So as I'm learning different techniques and recipes, I want the ability to keep adding those to books too. I love to share that knowledge. And even if you go on my Instagram or you go on my TikTok, you'll see me cooking and baking things. And, like I'm making bagels or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So I'm constantly learning and trying to share that stuff. And I think that there's a lot more benefit to having that in each individual than one big giant cookbook.
Mhm.
For sure.
Is
Yeah.
is the book? Is it more so just informational focused, or is there a bit of story with it? A
This one
little
is
bit of
definitely more
storytelling.
informational.
Hmm.
Yeah, this one's definitely informational. That's something that it's funny because my whole entire life, people have been like, you need to write a book just because my background is so like all over the place
Hmm.
and everywhere. And I literally have all these like crazy stories about stuff. But I actually was approached by Apple and Amazon Prime recently. And so I might be doing something with that. So I kind of put that style of book on the back burner for right now because they're looking at doing, I guess, like a docu-series on my life. So,
Hmm.
Oh,
which is,
really?
That's fair.
yeah.
Wow.
So should be interesting. There
What
should
a
be some scared
horrible
people. No,
thing to
just kidding.
happen that Apple and Amazon Prime are vying against each other on the story of your life. That sounds terrible.
Hmm.
It's so bizarre. It's just
Hmm.
so bizarre
It's,
because I just think about it and
it's
I'm like,
very
man,
Hollywood.
it's very strange. Yeah, and like the fact that I just view myself a lot of the times as just this like random nurse chick that people follow. I'm like,
Right.
whoa, like it trips me out every time somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Oh my god, I watch your show." And I'm like, "Ah," like it's like just still so strange to me and like I'm pumping gas or something and I'm just like, "Oh my god." Like it's just so funny cuz I'm just me, right? And I'm
Yeah.
just out here doing this thing that I love and even filming TV, it's like it's not real. Like I'm behind a camera. I don't have an audience watching me. So then when people are
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I saw this," and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you probably did, right? Like
People-
You weren't there.
yeah, I'm like, that's weird. I don't remember that, but it's
Mhm.
yeah, it's really, really cool. And I love it when like the kids come up and they're just like, oh, it was so cool. And you got squirted with, muskrat eyeball juice in the I'm like, oh, you saw that. Cool,
that was what you got out of that episode, wasn't
Yeah, great. Yeah, cool. Yes, that was very fun.
it? Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, what we've talked about, you're on TikTok, we've talked about you're on Instagram, all the other platforms. Why don't you take a second and plug all the platforms and tell people how to find you?
It's really easy. I made it very, very user friendly. If you go and you look up Jerrika in the Wild, that is my handle on every single platform. So if you are on TikTok, I made it. It's Jerrika _in_the_wild for all of them. And yeah, I'm probably one of the only Jerrikas in the outdoor industry. So pretty easy to find me. Just if you are on my TikTok, please realize that it is not always PG-13. I like to have fun on there and be dumb, and I like Theo Vaughn way too much, so I'm doing a lot of his voiceovers. But I really, God, I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is, but I just love that man so much. He just makes me laugh so much. But and then my Instagram is definitely more hunting and outdoors oriented. TikTok's kind of soft, so you can't really show that stuff. So I do more of like the cooking and whatever on there. And then my Facebook page, I share a lot of similar information to the Instagram, but I'm a little bit more interactive with people on there. You can go on there and we can actually talk. And I find that it doesn't get lost as much as it does in Instagram. But yeah, I'm on all platforms. I always message people back when they message me on there. I'm not, that popular where that's a problem. I really like to be responsive and I really love feedback. So if people have watched the show, they're looking at my content, I'm more than happy to hear constructive criticism, positives, negatives, whatever. I love that because it gives me an idea on what you guys want to see, which helps me with my content creation. So because otherwise you're just going to get nothing but Theo Vaughn voiceovers, and I don't think everybody just wants that all the time. So.
Oh, I don't know what you see in Theo Vaughn, honestly.
I don't even know what it
do
is.
him.
It's like I said, some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, I'm just like, God damn, like I don't know, it just kills me, and it's so funny. It's dumb, but yeah.
Hey, sometimes dumb is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to give you the last word. What do you want people to know that people don't know?
What do I
Anything, it
want
doesn't
people
matter.
to know that people don't know? It's really, that's a tough one because there's so many things that I think that people need to know. I don't know. That's really hard. Take the time to reflect and look at yourself and stop worrying about what everybody else has that you don't, and focus on how you can learn from other people and what you have to offer other people as well. And just stop thinking about, well, they have this and I don't, and that's not fair, because that's some serious bullshit. You're responsible for your own life. You're responsible for your own happiness, your own learning, everything. And when you stop feeling sorry for yourself, your life's only going to get better. So I guess that's what I'll say.
That's I think really good advice, and also open to multiple areas of life. So good job.
See?
Yeah.
I won't go into specifics, but yeah.
Well, and there are very specific areas that we can take that advice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we're all guilty of it. We're human, and we are definitely like egotistical beings at heart, and just taking the time to be mindful of that, and like making sure that we're really reflecting on how we are acting as people. It's only going to make you a better version of yourself,
Wonderful. Derek, do you have any questions for Jerrika?
I want to touch base on something I've always been kind of curious about, is the grease and rendered fats. I've noticed that fat is actually cool again.
Yeah.
That's my little pun.
Right.
So
yeah.
I kind of want somebody a little bit more intelligible to explain to me why fat is cool now.
If you were going to say something witty, Derek, you would say, "Give us the skinny on the fat."
Okay.
That's pretty good.
You're welcome. You can use it. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I'll say this in terms of somebody who has some knowledge when it comes to fitness and nutrition as well. As
Mhm.
fat has gotten a bad rap over the years. People believe that fat makes you fat, that fat makes you unhealthy. Very untrue. Fat is extremely necessary when it comes to brain function, our serotonin production, dopamine production, all these natural chemicals that make us happy, our memory. You know, you hear about people taking fish oils because we're eating these like really low fat diets. And then as somebody who has dieted down for fitness shows, low fat makes you so slow, so dumb. So just in terms of your brain function, it just really inhibits you. So, you know, now they're talking about these healthy brown fats, you know, fats being so important and integral in infancy development. You know, there's DHEAs and, you know, they're adding fats to things, and they talk about the natural healthy fats in breast milk for brain development. And then, you know, we get into this unhealthy mindset that fat is unhealthy. And that's not true. You know, there's different kinds of fats for sure. Saturated fats, bad. It's just going to stick to your arteries. It's shit. But, you know, healthy fats, you know, avocado, things like that. Like you know, you actually need them to function properly. And animal fats can be super healthy in moderation, like anything else. You know, most of the time, moose lard is the one that we are consuming. Bear grease, I'm utilizing. I have made pie crust and things like that from it, but it's more of a, to me, like an emollient, like a skin moisturizer. Very, very good for protecting that moisture barrier from being able to leave. So it's one of the best things for your skin, your hair. People who have eczema have seen really, really good benefits with it. It's a great carrier for things like, again, some of those like plants and things that I'm foraging. It's really good at absorbing those and being able to
Like
help with
salves
the
and
barrier
balms
in your
and
skin. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and then again, the moose tallow. So tallow and lard are different. Tallow
Okay.
comes from things like moose, elk, deer, whereas lard is like pig and bear and like different animals, right? So the fats or the lards are really good again for skin and things like that. They have a really low flash point, so they're good for cooking. Whereas the tallow is a little bit more firm. It's like a hard fat. You can make slow burning candles. You can waterproof leather. You can do all kinds of things with it, and you can consume it. And again, everything in moderation is totally fine for you. It's just, you know, how you're utilizing it. So
Would you,
fat.
sorry,
Sorry.
would you saponify any of these fats and make soaps, or are they good
A
for any
hundred
of that?
percent.
Yeah.
100%. You can do that with either of them.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. You just have to use lye, and you just have to break it down to I can't even talk right now to do that with.
Yeah.
And again, you can use some of those other things that are harvested as well. So, you know, like calendula,
Yeah.
lavender. Again, that goldenrod is really great for the muscle aches and pains. You can infuse it with whatever you want, and it's a really great natural soap. Hell, you can make laundry soap with it. You know,
Yeah.
like pretty much anything that you can use fat for. Fat's a great cleaner. It gets stains out of everything, grease stains. Like,
Now, is that in volume one, or are we going to have to watch the Fight Club to get instructions on that right now?
so that is actually in volume 1. And I'm just looking to see if I can find it. So making moose tallow,
Mhm.
rendering animal fats, rendering bear grease, and then making soaps and all of that stuff is in here. So
Very cool.
yeah,
Excellent.
I tried to make sure that I did have all of that so that crafting natural soaps and cleansers is in here, as well as making laundry soaps, making soap from game derived ingredients. It's all in here. So
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
all right. Derek, do you have any other questions?
Nope, that about wraps it up. And one could say it's not over until a lady sings about fat.
Yeah.
That was worse than give me the skinny on the fat.
I know.
It's dad joke central. It's fine. We're
Yes.
good. It's fine.
Oh, horrible. Okay. Well, Jerrika, thanks for spending the evening with us and making the time to come and talk to us. I wish you all this luck and success and everything else. And I hope the book goes really well for you. I'm sure
Thank
that it will.
you.
And make sure you stick around. Don't leave when we hit the stop button, because you got to tell me how you're going to get me a copy of one of the messed up
Absolutely.
covers. Everyone else, if you're still watching us, thanks for watching. And You can check out the show at facebook.com/BS podcast. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. If you like our content, leave a like on our YouTube page or on the Facebook page. You can email us if you'd like to. It's info@bspodcast.ca. You can find out most of our content on our website at bspodcast.ca, www, whatever. And as usual, a massive thank you to all of our sponsors and to all of our listeners. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show in the first place. We're talking about Shane and Steve, Miles, Carrie, Cappy, Duncan and Rob, Phil Odell, Doug and Niza, Vanya and Carly, Oscar and J.R. Cox, and all of you listening. Thank you all an immeasurable amount. And once again, thanks, Jerrika, for coming on. Derek, thanks for coming in and helping out with the show.
No worries.
And Kurt, go to hell. You left me hanging in the wind. So until next time, everybody, thanks for joining us.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS. Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.